So the real question is, other than aliens who probably would not like us because we're very manipulative, we're very criminal, and we can't hold our peace together for very long. We can seemingly do it, but we're kind of still in a feudal age. Uh, I, we're even proud of it in a way because we're survivors, aren't we? We say to ourselves, I'm pretty tough. I mean, how much worse could it get? Well, maybe it could. So ultimately, I'm going to go over the scenario of the prerequisites for this whole idea, this RIM idea, this Stargate idea. What does that mean, Stargate? Well, Stargate in a nutshell is a way to get your car, it's a way to walk, it's a way to take a train to another area uh, through walkways and highways that have been made in a really cheap way. Super cheap, but effective. And if you can't drive, it'll drive for you, and so on and so forth. But along the way, along the walkway, along the place where you drive, there's places where you can eat. And those prices would be probably pretty good. I mean, I think science really comes down to cheapness, right? So let's move on with this video, and after this, and we're gonna see exactly what kind of plans we have. Hey, this is Robert from DSP Plug. I'm outside this closed down store here. It's a nice location. Maybe it would sell, maybe it would. I don't know. But nonetheless, so we have these concepts and then we have history. It would be nice to go through history and find out just how well countries who did not export had done. And you know, there are really different synergies, really different mass plans. So how do you do that with many countries? How do you make many countries do exactly the same thing and base the amount of money that they've made upon all domestic goods? And the reason why this is so important is that that's what the rim would be about. It's not, it would look very plain, I'm sure. It wouldn't look sci-fi. I doubt anything about it would look sci-fi. It would look like hallways, probably pretty drab, probably pretty boring. People would have to be somewhat imaginative to imagine that it was interesting. It's just a place to live. But on the other hand, how many people are we talking about? Because ultimately, this idea and this idea's possibility would completely hinge on how many consumers industry needs. We still use money. We still use money. Who are the right people to be breeding? Where are they going to breed? What kind of interesting neighborhoods are we going to make? Medieval villages, for instance, in space, quite interesting. Having careers as jousters, what have you, all very interesting. Medieval, what's that program that they have? Medieval times for real. That would be something, huh? It would be something. I'm not so sure they'd let you have swords, but all in all, plenty of really interesting places to go, plenty of interesting historical places to see. How many people do we need? What are we talking about here? If you go back in history and you compare populations by the imperials, when I say imperials, I mean people who had royalty. Many imperials would hone their treaties and lands to work synchronously with the others. So ultimately, how many people did they have to allow them to trade, to allow them to make self-sufficient cities? Probably about 4 trillion. So someone really good with this kind of math, because this is a very specific kind of math, it's going to do that, and it's going to have to do that. And the reason why is we've been objectifying the banks ultimately. Asia had a really good plan. Some countries didn't want their products. Some products, they felt those countries where the products were being sent, they wanted to keep their jobs, keep their industry, keep their levels. They didn't want to change. They were only willing to take certain items. And some of the deals that were made fell through. Well, okay. It's not like China, I don't think, in my opinion, is trying to take over the world, or is Asia. It's merely that they were willing to have all of the dirt and smog and smoke and all of these nasty things that we used to have quite a lot more of in North America, where I am. And they have a lot of people in a small area, and that's what they wanted to do. So that's what they wanted to do. But now that there's been things like COVID in the way, well, investors might be able to form a new plan. That new plan really could work with the Stargate, as absurd as that sounds. It really could work. But firstly and foremostly, what kind of numbers? I don't know. 2 trillion? 2 trillion, I think, would be self-sufficient. It would allow these interesting cities to exist. It would allow interesting medieval times villages to exist. Interesting, maybe religious cities. Cities where people live like the religious people used to live, honing their craft, enjoying their lifestyles. It's all a very pleasant idea. Monks and what have you. Very interesting. Making it make money, oof, that's a difficult thing. But I really do think that the baseline issue is that we make products cheap. We we plan them to be sold at a certain price, and then somebody tries to up that ante. And because they try to up that ante, they change the synergies, they change the math, and because they have, we're in the situation we're in. So how do we fix that situation? Either by the Stargate or by floating cities. Floating cities. What do I think of floating cities? Yeah, the technology can be made. Completely plausible. But I think the inertial dampening technology we're going to be requiring for maglev uh, artificial landforms is sizable. I think there are synergies in the world that we're only going to understand after we understand the world's tilt, its wobble, its axis, the way it's turning. How can we affect or not affect our world's orbit, our world's axis, And how are we not going to do harm to it? And how are we going to prevent from changing our orbit? These are all valid questions. And yeah, 2 trillion, that's a whole lot of money. But the thing is people got to see that apps and all this information has to be able to deny you from credit. It has to be able to say, no, you can't keep borrowing. And then there has to be some psychological helper, little cheap robot things that walk you around and take you to work, or else you have to go to a work camp. That'd be the reality. This is Robert from DSP Plug, and I'm talking about the Stargate.